Merry Christmas to all, and welcome in to the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff here on 104.5 The Zone. This game set to be, I don't even think it's possibly, it is set to be the coldest in Nissan Stadium history. We start with those cold thoughts today. We hope wherever you are warm, you're surrounded by people that you love and that you care about, that you are enjoying this holiday season. If you are choosing to come to this Titans game today, just know this. Probably should wear a big coat. Maybe a hat. And unlike Buck, bring a pair of gloves. Gentlemen, welcome into the coldest game day in the history of Nissan Stadium.
That's so stupid. Like, I had every other layer on my body ready to go, and then I looked down at my hands, and I'm like, oh, you idiot. You forgot gloves. So, yeah, for those of you, now, unlike those of you going to Nissan Stadium today, I'm going to be sitting inside. So, Godspeed to the rest of you outside.
It will not be affecting you that much.
Well, on the walk to my car, from my car to the press box, Blaine.
You have pockets in your nice trench there.
Yeah, I do. But I also have nice gloves that I'd like to wear, and I didn't bring them today. Anyway.
I have my leather gloves there, so.
We got lots to get to. Let's send a Christmas thank you to the good folks at Lee Company. They trust their home stadium, the Titans do, to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems, and they can protect your home, too, maybe on a day like today. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. I don't even know where to start, so
where to start? Who's starting?
Well, that's a place to start.
Who's starting? Everywhere.
Maybe let's just start with the most recent thing that happened. This is a tweet from the mayor of Nashville.
I think that's a good place to start, given that it affects the start of the game.
Now, not all of you are on Twitter.
It does?
I get that, but there are newsworthy things that happen there, even if you're not on it. This is a tweet from Mayor John Cooper. I've been informed, and many of you have experienced a power blackout. We were in one about 8 minutes ago here at the station. I've been informed that the TVA's unilateral rolling blackouts will continue. All non-essential businesses should reduce power usage. I've asked the @Titans. He added them. That means he called attention to them, tagged their account.
Yeah.
I've asked not everybody's on Twitter. I've asked the @Titans to postpone their 12 o'clock game in solidarity with our neighbors. TVA needs to invest in infrastructure to withstand extreme temps. And he's quoting a tweet from the TVA. Gentlemen, the NFL is a multi-billion-dollar business. I mean, that's not happening.
Yeah, Buck, it's not going to happen, right, Buck? I mean, you're the NFL guru here, man. What's going on, man? What's happening?
Listen, on days like today, I believe you have a closer tie to the league office than I do, given your responsibilities. But I will say to you that there is a less than 1% chance that actually happens. Because while I appreciate Mayor Cooper's performative gesture by tagging the team and saying, I have asked the Titans.
He tagged him?
He tagged them.
He tagged them.
Oh.
I have asked or whatever minion runs the Twitter account, whatever. I have asked the Titans to postpone the game at this time as a part of the non-essential businesses thing. So at least he has publicly said, hey, I asked, guys. Yeah. For those of you who were pissed that Nissan Stadium's lights were all on all last night while you experienced rolling blackouts for about 15 minutes every hour, or at least that's the case at my house. I don't know about your guys'. Yeah, literally every hour.
Man.
For 15 minutes, Mick. Yeah. I just, anyway.
I don't want to tell you that I've had one.
It's okay. I am more fortunate than most, but that has nothing to do with the television networks who are putting on the game. Obviously, they have more control directly over this situation than the actual team does that's hosting. You have to deal with the logistics of the other team because it's not just about asking the Titans if they're cool with postponing. It's about asking the Texans, and he didn't tag them. So, I understand what he's doing. It's a political posturing thing. I get why it would be a winning position, but also this game is going to be played likely as a noon kickoff today. Almost assuredly as a noon kickoff today.
Yeah, I would be stunned. As you said, under 1%. I don't even know if it's that high, to be honest. But,
there's always a chance.
There's always a chance. No question. So that was kind of interesting just to hear that because I didn't see the tweet you guys were talking about it here before we got on. I was kind of stunned and shocked, to be honest. I'm like, well, that has to go through the league office. And what is it extreme? Like, is something going on as far as with the stadium? Like, if something was wrong with the stadium and they couldn't get power, I could see if that, possibly could happen. But no, I think the show must go on at 12 noon for the kickoff for the coldest game in Titans history. at the stadium, at Nissan Stadium.
Just for good measure, I'm going to text somebody over there to see if I can get like an official statement from the team now that the mayor has put out that tweet, because I assume at some point, like, this is going to send everybody into a scramble drill, right? Like, it's already Christmas Day. It's already miserably cold. Like, people have plans. It's going to be a very, like, rigid structure. So if you see a tweet from the mayor's office saying, I've asked the team to postpone the game, and nothing from the team, it's going to throw a lot of people into flux. It's going to make this whole thing chaotic. The team is going to be pissed.
And some people may take their time getting to the game if they think it's going to be delayed.
Yeah. It's so basically what is going to happen today, it feels like, is people are going to be like, well, what am I going to mess with all this for? This is turning out to be even a bigger hassle than it might have already been. Go. Right? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I'm going to see if I can't get something from the team while we're on air here today.
Buck efforting a quote from the mayor's office, so we'll keep you posted on that.
He is our mayor of the pregame show.
Yes, he can be our head honcho in charge of getting quotes from the mayor there. Lots of people weighing in. We're on Zone TV today, so if your internet is working and you are so inclined, you can join us there. You can join us by phone 615-737-1045. Keisha Rainey, who's the fabulous anthem singer and more, and gospel singer, and just sings like an angel, says, Buck, mine was 8 hours straight through. I never experienced 15 minutes.
Oh, my God.
Talking about blackouts. Will says, Merry Christmas from Knoxville. Andrew says, Happy Christmas Eve from Buffalo, New York. So we appreciate people who are listening from all over. So, all right, we started with the mayor because his tweet is the most recent. The second most recent tweet that has something to do with the Titans. Do you guys remember the whole Derrick Henry, will he or won't he come back thing? And Schefter and Rappaport had differing opinions.
Come back from what?
The broken foot, the Jones fracture.
Okay, let's get it all in context. I mean, from what? I mean, he could
coming back from his broken foot.
Oh.
Yes.
Now we have warring camps again. Schefter's just tweeted out a minute ago, Ryan Tannehill is not coming back this regular season. It's doubtful he would even make it back for a postseason game. And this was after Ian Rappaport tweeted last night he had gone and had the tightrope surgery that Tua and we've seen other people have, and that he was going to try to play Week 18. So now we have these warring camps of NFL Network and ESPN with differing opinions on Ryan Tannehill, and could he make it back for Week 18 or for the postseason? We do know this, guys. He will not play today, along with a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, so the reporting around this has been locally that Ryan Tannehill is believed likely done for the year. The latest Schefter reporting on the tightrope surgery that he had, which we're all familiar with by this point, with Cedric Tillman, the Vols wide receiver, having it, with Tua Tagovailoa having it several times during his Alabama career. It's not a season-ending injury, but given that we are at the end of the season, it is unlikely that he would be able to go. Now, the severity of the ankle sprain itself, that's never been disclosed, other than he told myself and a bunch of other media in the locker room in Los Angeles last Sunday that it was significantly worse than what he had previously been dealing with. So, unfortunate for him, but obviously, you know, the confusion around this is because, okay, Rappaport is getting something from somebody saying that he's still going to try and give it a go. Schefter is saying that he's done for the regular season and very unlikely for the postseason at this point, should the Titans make it. And at this point, you know, it almost doesn't matter to me at this point. I mean, it does, obviously, for the sake of transparency and for the sake of clarity. Like, you want to know what the hell's going on with the starting quarterback because he's still under contract next year. But in the meantime, they got a game to play today on Thursday night on a short week, and then either Saturday if it gets flexed or Sunday as it's currently scheduled in Week 18 to play in Jacksonville, and they're doing it with Malik Willis either way. So now they got to figure out, all right, does the offense need to drastically change or be drastically simplified for a player who we know has limitations? Can any of this work anyway? Because literally the entire offensive line is on the injury report, and two more of them just went on IR this week. So now, I mean, there is some positives. Danico Autry looks like he's probably going to be able to go. Traylon Burks looks like he's going to be available. So that is something, a positive development for a rookie quarterback who could sure use a little bit of help right now. But at this point, it's about finding out whether this dude that you're going to start today at bare minimum is going to be a part of your future moving forward. And honestly, I think it's not best case scenario for Tannehill to be hurt, but it's best case scenario given the circumstances for them to have 3 games to figure out whether Malik Willis can play.
No doubt about it. I would say as far as the surgery and the high ankle, tightrope and everything else, I'm really familiar with that. I'd be surprised if he's back by the end of the season. That would be a little surprise for me. But quarterback is a different position in that you don't have to be quite as mobile. Receiver, I thought Tillman came back too soon. But you just never know. Professional athletes, the grit, the toughness that you got to have, and Tannehill and his desire, if he really is hungry to be back, even if he's not at full strength. So there's always a possibility, but I'd be surprised, especially if seeing where the team goes before that last game. Let's say if they don't, lose the next two, then I don't know how much you have to service yourself to take a risk to come back, and then there's nothing on the line. So if it's something on the line, wouldn't be stunned, but I'd be a little surprised if he came back that quick. It's a tough injury. It doesn't speed up the injury process, but what it does is helps it heal. You're still supposed to be immobile for a week or so before you even start doing exercise. And naturally, professional athletes are going to try to do things immediately after the surgery and start getting movement and rotation in there. So that's a tough injury for a quarterback, and the risk of re-injuring and not knowing if you're going to be back on the team next year. In the back of your mind, agent talking to you, should they redo your contract, or will you be a cap casualty, or will you get traded? All those things are on the table and going through the player's mind at quarterback, and based off of how well will Malik Willis do? Will he show he's a proven backup in this league, or will he show that he potentially can be a starter? And that goes into, the player's health and who's all around him with the offensive line. I'm questioning not just for Malik Willis, for the offensive line, also Derrick Henry. The king, that matters to him too as well. So it's going to be tough sledding. Everybody just assumes he's going to have a huge day because it's the Texans. Well, the Texans have been competing the last 2 weeks like no other. They actually were leading the games at times versus some really Dallas and the Chiefs.
In the fourth quarter.
And one went in overtime, the Chiefs. So they've been fighting and been very competitive. I just don't know if Derrick Henry as well as Malik Willis will benefit from this offensive line. So will they try to run the football more as far as with Malik Willis and him being part of the run game? Or will they open up the offense? I would sure hope that they'll do a little bit more. Hopefully the offensive line holds up enough where he can throw the football. I think, what did he throw the ball like 10 times last time they played each other, which was his first start?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I think he has to throw the ball more than that. I think he's more confident now, and now it's about protection. And can he go through his progression reads? He seems like there's going to be dialogue, as Downing said, and more so than teaching, just dialogue throughout the week, and his, positive body language. And players said in the huddle he seems more confident. So we shall see. I'm excited to see what he possibly can do. Unfortunately, got to have a run game to help out a young quarterback, and the offensive line is where it all starts.
Well, we got lots to get to. We will continue to do that. Man, a lot of people are weighing in on just everything in the Zone TV chat. We welcome your feedback. We welcome your phone call, 615-737-1045. We welcome you to remember this. Today's broadcast brought to you in part by SA Recycling. SA Recycling reminds you to be a good fan this game day. Look for recycle bins in and around Nissan Stadium as you enjoy your chilly pregame tailgate today. We also, as always, appreciate Lee Company. They keep this show on the air and running. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com.
Superbook Sports, that's where you go to get in on all the action. It's not too late, even if the Titans game does get postponed, unlikely, but at this point, you can get in on the action for that game in the Superbook Sports app. All of the NFL games on the slate, all the college basketball, NBA, NHL that you want to wager on, Superbook has great odds boosts and promotions for you to do just that. They'll match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose. So make it easy on yourself. Download the Superbook Sports app today. Go to superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Lee Company countdown to kickoff rolls on here on 104.5 The Zone. Facility managers need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs, and they trust Lee Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play is to visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. Blaine Bishop, Buck Reising, Action Jackson, Mickey Ryan, we are all here again. We'll be here until 11 o'clock today. Then we'll hand the ball off to Titans Countdown and Rhett Bryan and Mike Keith, Titans Amy, Coach Mack. That crew will take you for the final hour. Then we'll have the entire game here, of course, on 104.5 The Zone. And after that, Will Bowling and Kevin Dyson with the postgame show. You can call in and sound off on whatever you have seen and heard today. Lots to see and hear, too, guys, as Malik Willis gets another start with Tannehill out. So his second start of the season was against the Texans. He's actually seen them, and they've actually seen him. Kind of ironic that he gets a second start against the same team. Blaine, as you pointed out, he threw it 10 times the last time they played the Texans. He was 6 of 10, 55 yards, had an interception. The previous week before that, he had started against the Chiefs. He was 5 of 16 in that game for 80 yards. But as we were discussing in the break, he did get that limited run last week. He was 3 of 4 for 20 yards in one series as he came out and relieved Tannehill dealing with an ankle injury. But curious to get both of you guys' thoughts about what you saw from Malik Willis last year and how you kind of feel as maybe he's improved and matured playing last week, and how you feel like he's kind of matured and come around as this season has gone on.
So, I mean, for me, limited sample size. It was 2 series total that he ended up getting in. And he had a couple opportunities to make some plays, right? He had 1 third down conversion that he had to complete. He did so to Chris Conley. It's the longest pass completion of the day, 7 yards. He had another play where he was able, I believe it was a second down, where he was able to convert with his legs. But before taking off, did well to work through 1, 2, 3, I counted, progressions, or make his way through 3 different progressions before deciding to take off with the ball. It was the rare moment of good pass protection, as a matter of fact. So I thought that just seeing him identify things, seeing him read a defense, that's something that I think was, of all the concerns or all the takeaways that I had from his first 2 starts, that he didn't necessarily look like he was recognizing stuff out there, Blaine. I don't, it's not, only he can answer questions as to why he made this decision in this particular situation, but just based on how we are able to evaluate these guys, he did look more comfortable with what generally they were asking him to do. And I think the ability to read a defense, or just the time that he spent in the meeting room, giving different looks as a part of the scout team and working against different looks, versus the Titans defense in practice, I do think that there has been some kind of growth there. Now, how applicable it is to a full game sample size, we won't know until we see today. But at least you saw some positive trends as far as how little he was able to actually get on the field and do some work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Even though it was a small sample size in the last game where he got in there, he just looked different to me. Now I think the only question is, it shows he's been working not only on the scout team, but he's also working on the board, in the meeting room. He's continuing to grow mentally because now he knows where his eyes are supposed to go. And that way the game will start slowing down. And that's part of the whole issue of every position, is knowing where to put your eyes and understanding what they're trying to do to you versus certain sets. And it's the hardest part, is playing the quarterback. So the speed of the game is slowing down. And I actually was encouraged, probably for the first time, even in that little time, he just looked different to me. He looked decisive and like he knew where he was going with the football every time, kind of somewhat how Tannehill does out there, maybe a different version of that. I'm not going to say he's Tannehill at this point in time, no. But, I mean, he was decisive. Whether he was right or wrong, he knew where he was throwing the football. So let's see if we get a whole game of this with a banged-up offensive line. So will he be running around and with his head cut off because he's not getting protection? And he has mobility, as we all know. So then will he start speeding everything up and then cause himself to make mistakes? Or will he sit in the pocket, maneuver in the pocket, and still make good critical decisions under supreme pressure. So I think that's the next step, and to see what he can do. I don't think we can rely on Derrick Henry versus the Texans, even though Mickey, his stats are off the charts his last 4 games versus almost 1,000 yards. I mean, like 800 and something yards.
Yeah.
It's insane, except for 2021. But we're saying the last 4 games that he played against them, I think it's 860 or so yards. So with the bang-up line, that's also going to affect Derrick Henry. So we don't know what to expect out of this offensive line, whether it's pass protection and run blocking, especially working as a unit. It's one thing to say, okay, we plug and play one guy, but now we're talking about multiple guys.
Potentially 3.
Right, and then who will play center, who is playing guard, so with Dylan Radins out for the season and everything else. So I'm looking at all these things on offense, and we can't just judge what Malik Willis is doing, what is the pieces around him. And Burks will be available. So that'll be exciting to see if, they can connect and kind of look at the future down the road here in the next year or two. If, he's the starter, what it'll look like.
Well, and I think the word that you use, Blaine, that I really like is encouraged, right? Because that's just what you're looking for. You're looking for things that would encourage you about the future and really the present now, at a necessity, of this player at this position, given that it is the most important decision that this organization, whomever's calling the shots personnel-wise, it's the most important decision that they have to make is the quarterback. Do you keep Ryan Tannehill at the current number? Do you try and explore other veteran options while Malik Willis is still on a rookie contract? Are you good enough with Malik Willis on a rookie contract to try and build out the rest of this thing around him? Because that's the most valuable commodity in the NFL right now, is a rookie NFL deal. Jalen Hurts is on the books for like $1.6 million, which is how they can afford $25 million for A.J. Brown and however much they're paying Dallas Goedert and Fletcher Cox and Ndamukong Suh and a bunch of dudes that they're just pulling off the street and trying to put together an all-star team at the end to make a push for this thing. I think that what Blaine said about not counting, or maybe not counting on, but like not assuming that Derrick Henry is going to go crazy against the Texans because that's what he always does. I don't think you can assume anything about this team right now. I don't think you can assume that they're going to get pressure with 4. I don't think you can assume that Derrick Henry's going to have a crazy day against the Texans. I don't think you can assume anything about this current team on a 4-game losing streak as presently constructed, because they got a little more right against Los Angeles. They got to the quarterback. It wasn't consistent pressure, but they got sacks. They haven't been doing that in droves as of late. They had 3 as opposed to 4 in their previous 4 games. They got turnovers, but they had to make crazy plays on the turnovers. The tip drill McCreary to Kalu interception on what Blaine, you could speak to this better than I could, on what I thought was a smart pass by Herbert, because he was trying to put it either where his guy was going to be able to get it and reach for it out of bounds, or it was going out of bounds. And McCreary had the sense to pop out of bounds while in midair, volleyball this thing back inbounds to Kalu, who's standing there, all in a fraction of the time that it just took me to describe that play, right? Like that, the heads up on that is crazy. And then Byard, I thought, made a really, really nice read because he just understood the route that the Chargers were trying to run on that pattern, jumped in front of it and made the second interception. And still it wasn't enough, right? They got turnovers, they got pressure on the quarterback, and still the offense stalled out enough to cause them problems. And the thing that the Texans are doing better right now, because they're still a terrible run defense, but they're getting turnovers. They're creating turnovers. And Derrick
they got 3
Henry,
sacks and 2 interceptions the last 2 weeks versus high-powered offense.
Exactly right. So, like, at this point, what the hell is with the Derrick Henry fumbling thing? He fumbled again. He didn't lose it on Sunday in L.A., but he fumbled again. That's 4 in the last 3 games. That's not something that we're accustomed to seeing. So, I have zero assumptions about the Tennessee Titans at 7-7 on this Christmas Eve before they play the Texans today.
And you wonder if some of the fumbling, which we haven't seen him do throughout his career, really, he's been pretty, considering how much he carries the football.
Right.
Are you pressing too hard? And trying to make something out of nothing? Are you trying to get that extra inch and then now you become vulnerable? I think that's where we're at. So I think if I was the coach, I would be talking to not only Derrick Henry, just the team, just to continue to play the game and don't press to make make plays and do more than you can. I mean, at the same time, just keep playing hard like you've been doing. So I think especially when you're one of the better players on the team and you're the superstar of the team, you start trying to say, I can do it myself and I'm going to get this extra yards, and you end up making a mistake. So let's see if he can, hey, hold on to the football and make some big plays, not only in the run game, but continue in the pass game, which is what he's done on the screen plays. So I'd like to see if Derrick Henry can impact the game in that manner as well to help Malik Willis out. And will we see a different offense? And, oh, by the way, we have Dobbs, who's somewhat similar in style, but a little more polished because he's been in the league for a little bit. Where he can do the RPO, read options, and things that maybe you're not practicing a lot of because you don't think you may see it. So do you catch the Texans off guard a little bit with some of that, with a running mobile quarterback that you actually run plays like you're in college to get downfield and get them loose and then say, okay, it's not just about Derrick Henry, it's also about the quarterback. So I'm curious to see where this game goes early on. We'll see, especially in the first 15 scripted plays from yours truly, Todd Downing, who's everybody's favorite coach on the Tennessee Titans. Oh, that was her fault. I got you there.
Christmas spirit.
Todd. Yeah, Christmas spirit. No, I don't think so. I don't know. If there's a football game on Christmas, I think the football game may supersede the Christmas spirit for most Titans fans, given the way that they've reacted. But, here's my thing, okay? Yeah. So Thursday Night Football, Jags and Jets. Zach Wilson is terrible. They can't get anything done. He's only out there because Mike White, God's gift to football at this point, can't go because he's got 75 fractured ribs or whatever it is.
And apparently he went to multiple doctors trying to get any second opinion that said Mike White. Went to everybody in New York, and they're all like, you can't play.
No, he's flying down to a warehouse in Miami where they do the butt implants to try and get a doctor to clear him. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, this ain't going to
work. Just trying to get anybody. Yeah. Anybody at all. You know what I'm saying?
Not on my watch.
So Zach Wilson's in the game, and Zach Wilson is terrible. And they're doing this thing again where they're on pace to have literally 2 yards of offense in the second half, which is a thing that happened at a previous Zach Wilson start. They put this Strevler dude in.
Strevler.
He's from CFL or something?
He's from knows
from
where.
Everywhere. CFL, South Dakota. He's been everywhere, man.
South Dakota, I think, is the college.
He is definitely not the answer.
He did play in the CFL.
But they moved to football.
Right, because he was running.
And the offense, but they changed the offense in a way that you can't run with Flacco or Wilson. To work with this Strevler dude, and they still didn't come away with any points. They didn't have a field goal drive. They didn't have a touchdown drive. I'm not saying that it fixed it, but it was a more effective version of that offense for the Jets, who couldn't run the ball otherwise because they're having offensive line problems. So is Todd Downing? We talk about adjustments or whatever, and are they doing it at halftime enough? Are they doing it on the iPads enough after a drive? Whatever. Here is an opportunity for him to kind of be like, okay, everybody reset. This is how we're going to have to go about this. It's not going to be overtly complex because we can only do so much based on what the quarterback is capable of doing. But we know this is going to work. Why can't it work like it did for the Jets?
Well, that'll be interesting. But I'm sure all the fans want to know is what is he going to call on 3rd and short?
Oh my
That's
God.
in the Zone TV chat.
What is he? Now with a quarterback that can run, will he? Now the quarterback becomes part of the run game. Or will he actually pass? He may pass. He may not give it to Derrick Henry. He'll use Henry for a decoy. Or will he actually give it to Henry?
Will he even be on the field, Blaine? He wasn't on the field for one of those 3rd and 2s, and we are apoplectic in the press box. What is he doing down there? It's just the running back is 6'4". Just let him fall forward. You get the 2 yards.
Well, it tells me that they're not confident in the offensive line. As bad as that sounds, and I'm not defending Downing by any means, but I think that's where we're at. And I think that's what lends play callers to make decisions because they are not confident in who they have on the field and what they can accomplish, whether that's in the passing game, whether that's think they can run the football or pass protection. What have you? We got to throw a quick pass, and it's 3rd and 20, and we're throwing a short pass. People, boo! Why are you throwing a short pass? Because do you want my quarterback killed, or do you want me to get the ball in his hand and maybe somebody can make somebody miss and then make a play? So there's a lot of things that go into those play calls. It's not as simple as it's 3rd and 2. We should give it to Derrick Henry. Maybe they felt like Derrick Henry needed a break, and maybe if we put somebody in here, and maybe we run the football, and they think we're going to pass and play this, checkers versus chess type, scenario. And sometimes you overthink it. I think he's done that a couple times.
Yeah.
And we don't know actually who is making the play calls. When I say that, when I'm talking about the head coach, he could be saying run the ball or throw the ball, and then Downey comes up with the call. All righty? So, at the end of the day, is Vrabel's co-signing on all that they're doing. Trust me, most head coaches, and I'm sure Vrabel fits this frame, is that they are control freaks and they understand everything that's going on and are telling you what we're going to run or do. So we can complain about Downing all we want to, but at the end of the day, it's still Vrabel's staff.
It doesn't have to be a defense of Todd Downing.
Right.
It's simply an explanation. Like, you want to know what's going on? Okay. Here is the proper context you need for all the things that you're complaining about besides you hate this guy's face. You know, because that's what I feel like it comes down to for a lot of people. They just want one person that they can look at and say, it's that guy's fault.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Well, that's all. That's the answers to all media, is that it's somebody's fault after every game. And the coaches don't think like that. They think if we are doing this all together and it's all our fault, because this is when you start pointing fingers. So that's why you'll never get a true answer, because in sports there is no defined answer when you lose. There's multiple. And that's what fans need to get. And fans don't care.
They don't care.
So
they don't have to care.
So then they're not going to go in depth in explaining to all the different mistakes and nuances about why that play didn't work. Besides, it could have been a bad call. It could have been a good call, but just not executed. So that's where we hear duplicate answers. It's about execution. That's why, because there are other things involved on plays why they don't work and why some work, and then it shouldn't have worked, to be honest. So, those are the nuances. And it's funny because we heard a little bit about Vrabel earlier this week when he said, you guys don't understand why we made this call. And he went into depth. Yeah, that little bit. So you kind of go into
Teresa.
that. Yeah, with Teresa.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who
we got to show a true sign of who Vrabel is and why he thinks it says, okay, I'm going to give y'all a little nugget and let y'all know why we did something. Not giving the full story, but a little nudge to you, like, okay, you guys better settle down here.
What was the line? He was like, it was something to the effect of, oh, you wouldn't want us to do that because that would make me very much question what you know about football or something.
Right.
To that effect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
You
I
ask
was
about
just
Derrick
like-
Henry will he be on the field more now with Hilliard unavailable on third down? And he was like, it basically said, well, this makes me question what you guys know about football.
Which, to my understanding, Teresa Walker did not very much appreciate, which understandably so.
Yes.
But, if you want the honest answers, they're going to sound something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you,
Blaine, I think
give a
you're
tough
spot
question.
on.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen there. He's like, okay, at this point in time, you've asked this enough times throughout the season. I'm now going to give you a little bit about why.
Let me explain to you why you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly. See? So I liked it, though, that he gave us somewhat of an answer.
Well, see, because the reaction was, oh, how dare. And listen, Teresa Walker is a incredibly respected and rightfully so journalist, Hall of Famer, the whole nine, okay?
Queen.
And she is to be treated with a degree of respect more than the rest of us. But I did not think there was anything wrong with Mike reacting
I didn't
that
either.
way.
Yeah, I didn't.
And I think a lot of people were pissed about it just because.
Well, how can
one,
the
they
media
don't like his tone. Two, he's on a 4-game losing
think
streak.
about
3,
this.
it's Teresa.
The
It's
media-
just the
media
optics.
can't be sensitive, just like the coach can't be sensitive when asked tough questions.
Oh, yeah, but Blaine, you've been working at this long enough to know media are the most insecure people in the world.
Well, you ask a tough question. You got to know that sometimes you're going to get, some type of response.
Yeah.
That's football for the coach. Is like, okay, now you're trying to tell me about something that I am the pro at, and now you want me to go into detail to explain this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Vrabel felt a little offended by somewhat of the question.
No, because
And probably after numerous times it's been asked over a season.
no, it's a great point.
And he probably wasn't in a good mood. Let's add that to that, too.
Well, because now you're questioning his competency.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's not going to fly. That's just not right. It's like the whole A.J. Brown thing. Not as long as I'm the head coach, and then it happens.
Oh, my gosh.
But
On Christmas Eve, Buck, you're going to hit that one again too soon.
I'm playing all the hits. I do think that's important to note, though, Blaine, because people would get lost in the idea that continuing to ask him the question would lead him to assume, okay, you don't think I know what I'm talking about. Now, let me explain to you why I know more about what I'm talking about than you know what you're asking me about. And yeah, media needs to have thicker skin, myself included.
Robert in Virginia has thick phone lines, and he has checked in with us and wants to talk about the Titans quarterback. Robert, welcome in to the League Company Countdown to Kickoff. Merry Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas, guys. How you doing?
Ho, ho, ho.
Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm not too far from the Liberty Stadium where Malik played his college football. At.
In college, yeah.
I've seen Malik play a few games, and I just want to make it quick and short. I know Tennessee's offensive line is not the best, but what I'm thinking is I'm thinking that when Malik is on the field, I think he has to pretty much play and do, what he's told to do.
Mhm.
If they go ahead and let Malik play his game, I'm not saying run every down, but if they go ahead and just let him play, loose football like Malik Willis plays, I think we'll be fine. But if he has in his head that, they want me to throw the ball or any kind of added pressure and just takes him out of who he is, he's not going to do well. So that's all I wanted to say, just let him play his game. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Robert. He's saying let Malik cook.
Okay, but what are the ingredients? You know what I'm saying? Are we talking? Is he boiling hot dogs? Or what are we talking about cooking here? Because here's my thing. Yes, it works at Liberty. Let him play his game. That was one of the worst offensive lines in college football that Malik Willis played behind. And you know what Malik Willis could do behind that offensive line that he can't do in the NFL? Dip out of the back of the pocket, turn his back to the defense, then do a whole loop before he decides to take off. Right? That's not something that works because of the closing speed. You're dealing with different athletes. It's a different caliber of player. And I think that I understand because I'm going to defer to Blaine on this, but to overthink things as you are trying to play in, incredibly fast, physical, violent spurts, that's not necessarily something you want to be doing. It can bog you down. It can keep you from just focusing on executing your assignment for that one individual play and kind of letting things go. I think there is a degree of that all professional athletes need to have. You need to be comfortable. But it can't just be, okay, throw him out there, let him cook or whatever generality you want to use. I think that he has to, as he progresses in his career, not just today, but he has to take more of that on and acclimate more of the things that he's being coached to do into his game as opposed to just literally what the caller described, which sounds to me like another version of roll the ball out there for him.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with that. I think we're way past where we're saying, the coaches are limiting in what he can do. I think he's past that where he's overthinking because he's trying to do what the coaches said. That's why I said he looked different. He didn't look like he was out there thinking. He was very decisive in that limited role. And so now I think he will go out there and then he will play freely. I call it freely. And that's where you're not thinking about trying to do what the coaches tell you to do. Now you understand what you're supposed to be keying and reading and looking at as a quarterback. Now all the things aren't new to you. Things aren't moving a mile a minute. Now if he wants to scramble and run, go ahead and do it. He'll be decisive. It's still the speed of the game is going to be different. And this offense is totally different than Liberty's offense. So I get what you're saying early on when he was out there, especially in preseason. I think they were trying to coach him into being a true quarterback. And now he can play and go through his reads. Things aren't open. I think he'll be decisive to run the football if he needs to. But you don't want to do that too much because the guys are faster and they're going to hit harder and they're going to hit to knock you out.
Yeah.
So if you want to see Dobbs and you want him to run that much, well, then we will see Dobbs. Because I'm telling you how the mindset of a defensive guy, being a former defensive guy, is to knock the guy out if he keeps running because they don't want to be up there covering and have to play him. So they're going to be like, hey, man, we're going to take a shot at him. Yeah. And even if they get a penalty, what do the 1-12-1 Texans have at stake here if they have a late hit?
Nothing. Baby.
So I get it, but we're past there. We're just done with that. I think now he's just going to be a quarterback and he's going to play. He is mentally tough. I think what you're referring to is kind of like when they try to keep VY in the pocket and make him more than what he was. And then now he wasn't very good. And all of a sudden he looked like a different guy. So I think Malik is past it. I think his maturation process is right on point now. Now let's see him in a live NFL game where we call plays, where we're not thinking about we need to protect him, not to make a mistake, and say, let him make mistakes. Hopefully there won't be enough to make the game turn in the other team's favor.
Agree. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time for us to take a break, and when we come back, it's time for Buck's Best Bets.
By
That's
God.
right, kids. And Mickey's Moneymakers, which has its own theme song. You'll want to stick around if you haven't heard that. You will want to stick around for this program. Brought to you by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Lee Company countdown to kickoff rolls on this Christmas Eve. A chilly start to your day. Should be the coldest kickoff in the history of Nissan
crazy.
Stadium.
What's the closest game to that?
23 degrees is the record right now.
Yeah. So, I mean,
What game was that?
It was the Jags game on New Year's, I'm pretty sure, in 2017, 18?
Oh.
I can't remember.
Probably.
17 sounds right because I'm pretty sure that was the game that somebody leaked to Ian Rappaport that Mike Mularkey would get fired if they didn't beat the Jags. And it started that whole thing, right, where he goes to Kansas City and they're like, even if they lose to the Chiefs today in the wild card round, Mike Mularkey may not have his job. And the whole freak out at the press conference after they beat the Chiefs. Don't feel supported by ownership, whatever. Yeah, I think that was the game.
Oh, man.
Wild time that was.
Well, this doesn't count playoff games, does it? I don't know. I don't remember how cold it was. It felt like it was cold, that Buffalo game, but it probably wasn't that cold.
Blaine, in your era, December 30th, 2001, against the Cleveland Browns, it was 28.
What about when we played the Cowboys? It might have been a Monday night or Christmas night. Or
December 25th, 2000, Blaine, when you thought you would get the red jerseys. It was 29 when you guys faced the Cowboys.
That might have been the coldest. It felt the coldest because it was a night game, and as the night went on, I'm sure it wasn't 29. I was freezing.
Now, before we do best bets,
I was going to say, I've got a great transition here. Why are you stepping on me?
I'm sorry.
Who's the point guard?
I know, right?
It's hard.
It's hard for me. Blaine, I've been doing it by myself for so long.
I know. It's okay. What you got for it? You got something for it?
Yeah.
I do have news. It's relevant.
Okay.
LaRaven Clark has just been added to the injury report. He's now questionable.
Why not?
Are you
Why not?
freaking kidding me?
He's sick.
Oh, okay. I was wondering how you injured.
Okay, we know
overnight. You slept wrong. No, he was sick.
Well,
Okay.
we know.
He woke up and saw the rest of the offensive line and was like,
Hey, we know.
I don't think I can go today,
Oh
Coach.
my gosh,
Zach Pillar has a restaurant. We know he still lives around here. Can we get Pillar to the
and he
stadium
is
and
a
dress
massive
down?
human being.
He's still big as hell.
He's got a restaurant. I mean, Ellen, can we get just all the retired guys down there so we can cobble together an O-line?
So he is out, or he's
Questionable. But when we get inactives in about 45 minutes from now, don't be surprised if yet another offensive lineman is not available at this point.
I will say this, and then we'll get to Buck's best bets. And by the way, you've already blown my mood on the transition.
I'm sorry.
Remember when the Titans played the Bengals last year during the regular season? And we were like, who are these guys on their O-line? And they just signed Spain, and he didn't even know the other guys. And they did a really good job against the Titans that day.
Yeah, they did.
So it can happen.
In Cincinnati, yeah.
It can happen.
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
That Clowney was on the team.
It can happen. So there are yes, that was 2 years. Yes, that last year that was during the playoffs that they played Cincinnati. It was not that, but it was a regular season game. So it can happen. Crazier things have happened. All right, my transition spirit is dead. Just play the theme.
Look at me. Your money, you know what else? You're a big winner tonight. I'm gonna ask you a simple question. I want you to listen. Who's the big winner here tonight?
Buck Reising.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
My money and I need it now!
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
All right, let's make you some money, shall we? Spent a lot of money on your Christmas presents, did you? We're going to make it back. Don't worry. It's presented by Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app today. They'll match your first bet up to $1,000, win or lose. Now, we're going to do this abbreviated style because we got to get to Mickey's Money Makers as well. Now that there's music.
Proposed to that.
Uh-oh. Look, Blaine even brought one. We're having a day.
No.
Blaine's
what
bank
Mickey's
breaker.
thought on the prop bets.
Yeah, Blaine said,
Passing yards
get me
and
through
rushing
Bucks.
yards.
Let me get the Mickey so I can actually make some money.
No,
I was 3 and 4
you're
last
right there
week,
too, but-
except for the one Blaine talked me into.
Yeah, Malik Willis on passing yards as well as rushing yards. So, yeah.
The props are going to be interesting today. So let's just start with this game, shall we? The Texans are 3-point underdogs here in Tennessee. 3 points is what home field
That means
advantage
it's even, right?
is good for. So they think that the Titans and Texans are basically the same team right now. Now, I would say... Blaine almost threw something at me.
I'm still cold. That is ruined me, man.
It's tough. Well, I mean, how can a 1-12-1 team be the same as a 7-win division leader? Turns out the rosters look very much like one another at this point, given that how many different starting players that were on this team's opening day lineup are not playing. 20 of the 48 players that they used are just flat not available at this point.
What about the last time they played? even.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone down substantially since then because you're talking about potentially 3 offensive linemen, the quarterback. Anyway, I think I can't help but think that the Titans have to be able to cover and win. I think I'd take them by 3.5. I think I'd take them by 4. I think the Titans should be able to win this game, but man, do they not inspire confidence right now. I just think there's going to be a lot of money on the Texans. Given the way that the Titans have looked, losers of 4 straight, it would be impossible, unfathomable for Mike Vrabel to lose a 5th in a row. And if he does, he's going to need a lot more than thick skin at his next press conference.
Yeah. Since Buck is the one who said that. I am. 5 games in a row is really hard to do. But this team is built on what? Their identity is what? And if they can't run the football, and now you have a backup quarterback that is inexperienced and hasn't shown that he can get it done yet, hopefully. That's why I say I think Malik Willis is going to be the caveat in this game if they're going to win this game. So if he plays well or doesn't turn the ball over, I think they have a great shot. If he does, then I think we're in serious trouble in this game.
Agreed.
Because they've played well, the Texans, even defensively. Even though they're still having guys run the football against them, they're still in games and competing at a high level with nothing to play for.
Yep.
And actually, you want them to, you still want them to get the first pick, right? Lovey's got them playing. They're getting better. So I'm a little nervous here.
That's what I'm saying. That's the scary part. Like, they're not winning the games. Obviously, the wins matter. The wins and losses matter. But
They haven't quit.
This is a team. That's
haven't
the
quit.
thing. Like, the whole Brandon Cooks thing was a bleep show. And
he's out there today because
he's going to play today. It sounds
He said, it's great to be back with my teammate. My calf is fully healed. Uh-oh. He fast.
That's
He had
the
a pretty
best
good
bet.
day
Who
against the
playing
Titans
corner?
last time.
for this team, me.
Boy, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
We in trouble.
Now, Ben Jones on IR as well as Terrence Mitchell. Trey Avery may be back today, given that he was a full participant at practice and not officially to us yet out of the concussion protocol. We'll see if him and Burks are made available today.
Yeah. Is that all of your best bets?
Well, yeah, we only have time for the one.
Oh, okay.
I interrupted the whole thing with the LaRaven Clark
No,
thing.
you got
so.
time. You got a couple more minutes if you got more bets.
Well, no, we have money makers, though, is what I'm
Well,
saying.
I mean, yes, I was 3 or 4 last
The
week. So hit
moneymakers
the
are
theme
funny.
that means people's wallets are dancing, Jackson.
Oh, the bear. Oh, man, I wish I could gamble. Let's ride.
I'm telling you, let's ride. That's chef's
Yeah, it was a
kiss.
chef's kiss by Hunk and Jackson and everybody who was involved in this. Thank you, gentlemen. This was whipped together before the last game. The look on my face, apparently, and Blaine's when this started to play, when we were just waiting for Let's Ride, and then they kick off this rock and roll extravaganza.
It was delightful. That's your Christmas bonus, though. So I hope it's.
That's what we should change it to. The hitman, Buck with the man with the great voice, and the musician.
The music man.
There we go.
Music man.
Last week I was 3 of 4. I've been on a roll lately. Blaine talked me into hitting the over for Titans points. I got talked into that. That was the one that I missed.
Oh, yep, it's my fault.
That's 100%
It is.
Blaine's Bank
It
Breakers
is.
broke me on that one.
That's why I do not gamble.
I studied intently because it's important to me that I help people get this Christmas, bonus from me.
Sure.
Okay.
You got a reputation on the line.
Help me out.
And once again, all I could come up was, let's ride Derrick Henry. Let's ride.
Yeah.
111 and a half yards. He's averaging 223 in his last 4 games against Houston. Blaine, I know you're nervous about this.
That's an average.
That's his average.
223.
And I'm nervous about it too. But if he doesn't get the ball 30 times on this day, knowing all that's going on, then I don't know what's going on. And if he can't, get 112 yards in 30 carries, boy, it's going to have been an even longer day than we think it could be over there. And then the other one is this, a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown. He has 9 in those same last 4 games. He's averaging literally over 2 touchdowns against these same Texans. And if you're getting it 30 times and you are the focal point of the offense, I would imagine you will be the focal point of the offense if you get any sniffing area close to the goal line, maybe even some king cat. which we saw
King cat.
last week.
Look at Buck's face. You don't like the king cat?
That keeps fumbling. What do you mean I don't like the king cat? Get
Well,
the hell
maybe
out of here
hit
with the
him
king cat.
right between the twos. But
No, that's what I'm saying.
king
Like
cat.
he needs to be better. It's
The king is the actual cat.
it's a different kind of cat right now.
Meow.
So I'll ride with the king. Does he hit 200? If he does, they need to like seed him. Someone tweeted this week. They should seed him some ownership of the Texans at this point. That he should own a percentage of the team. But 111.5 was the number that I found on that, and an anytime touchdown. So I will ride. Let's ride with Derrick Henry for both of Mickey's money.
You think that's gonna happen, Buck?
That's the one thing that they've now. Here's the thing: like they've looked good running the football against the Jags. He got taken out of the game because they killed him on that first drive of the second half, where they killed half the third quarter and they were down by 2 scores. So and they still tried to run Derrick.
As Greg Cosell said, they put out 2 tight ends immediately and handed the ball to Derrick Henry.
With a 6th offensive lineman, down 2 scores. Titans football
Halfway
till
through
the
the
end,
third
baby.
Well, it would have been only fitting that they fake to Henry and throw to actually Clark.
Yeah.
That would have
Not
been
today because he's sick.
that would have been great.
They don't even have that.
And then
today.
everybody would be complaining, even if he completed it. Why did they hand the ball off to Henry?
You can't win for losing. So I would take 112 rushing yards for Derrick. They have been able to run the ball. Again, the shuffling deck or the house of cards, probably better put, is the offensive line at this point. So I don't know how much that's going to affect it. And I still don't know who's playing center because both Brewer and Petit Frere were questionable. Like they weren't good. They weren't guaranteed good to go.
Begin the thawing of Corey Levin.
We'll see how that goes.
To me, that should be a bet too, as well. Who's the starting
the
five
O-line?
offensive lineman? Who's the starting five?
How many of the starting 5 can you guess right?
Yeah.
Let's pick this up on the other side. We will get into the Titans. Well, who
No
will they
idea.
be able to play and who won't? We're a little over 30 minutes away from inactives. That should tell us something, but let's get into who might actually be available on this Christmas Eve today as we continue to roll along on the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Lee Company, all you need, visit them online at leecompany.com.
The game is not postponed.
Lee Company countdown to kickoff hour number 2. Merry Christmas to all of you as you celebrate this Christmas Eve. We hope you are somewhere warm and surrounded by your friends and your family and people that you love. Maybe you're headed out for today's Titans game. Make sure that you are bundled up. This is set to be the coldest kickoff in Titans history, beating the previous record of 23 degrees. At least the sun is shining. But again, make sure you are bundled up if you are headed here. Appreciate Lee Company. As always, Merry Christmas to them for putting this show on the air. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. So, Blaine, right before we went on the air, and we have received no further updates on this, Buck Reising has shoved off for the next part of his day. Blaine Bishop, Mickey Ryan, Action Jackson, we got you covered for this final hour of the Lee Company countdown to kickoff today. Mayor John Cooper had tweeted, this is now about 40 minutes ago, I've been informed the TVA's unilateral rolling blackouts will continue. All non-essential businesses should reduce their power usage. I've asked the @Titans, and if you understand Twitter, if you don't, he tagged the team account of the Titans to postpone their 12 p.m. game in solidarity with our neighbors. TVA needs to invest in infrastructure to withstand extreme temperatures. There has been no further updates that I know of, but as we started this show, it's pretty much all of our understanding. The NFL typically does not cancel games. Even if you ask them nicely, it is a multi-billion-dollar company, and it is our understanding this game will still kick off at noon as planned.
Yes, but I understand completely why he's asking, because everybody else is having, a shutdown, power and everything else. So, yeah, but I don't think that's going to happen, because you have to go through, actually, there's the NFL, and then there's these TV contracts, and if they have had power all this time, maybe they shut them, shut off before the game, but not during, the kickoff time or afterwards.
Yep. Who will be part of the Titans playing contingent today when the game kicks off? That's going to be a completely different matter. We will have inactives now in probably, less than 25 minutes at this point. So on Friday, Mike Vrabel ruled out Ryan Tannehill. And now if you're kind of paying attention to this, there's a report from Paul Kaharski that it looked like Ryan Tannehill would be done for the season. And now Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport have both gotten involved. Schefter saying Tannehill is done for the rest of the season and is doubtful even to return for the playoffs. Ian Rappaport continues to report that Ryan Tannehill, who had a tightrope surgery done on his ankle, and if you're follow college football, that's the same thing that Tua has had, that a lot of you might remember the name of that procedure. Also, a certain Tennessee receiver, Vols receiver, had that same procedure this year, Tillman. So a lot of talk about tightrope procedures amongst SEC college fans. But Ian Rappaport is still holding to a report that Tannehill could possibly come back. Mm-hmm. Well, no matter what happens today, Blaine, it won't be today. Ryan Tannehill ruled out. Nate Davis was put on IR, starting guard. Ben Jones, the starting center, also got put on IR this week. LaRaven Clark, just moments ago, the team announced, was added to the team's injury list with an illness. So Dennis Daly remains available. Nicholas Petit-Frere was on the injury report some this week. It's our understanding, unless something changes, you would have maybe both of your tackles. Then what happens in between those guys? Corey Brewer is the left guard. Corey Brewer, not the basketball player. Aaron Brewer, the football player. Sorry, Corey, if you're listening. Merry Christmas, a local celebrity. In the past, we had seen them put Dylan Radins at guard, move Brewer to center. Will they do that, or will they just put Corey Levin at center today? He's a guy who can play center. Former Titans draft pick, was gone and came back. You have him. You have Aaron Brewer to work with. You have Jordan Ruse potentially to play guard. But at this point, I think you were joking earlier, we should have a prop bet of just what are the 5 starting offensive linemen and what position do they play?
Yeah, because I'm confused. I don't know what they will do, but I would guess that Brewer, with Ben Jones out, is going to go to center, and Levin at left guard, and Daly at left tackle with Ruse and Petit-Frere. So I don't know. It may be a little bit different. I mean, how do you see it, Mickey? Because at least there you're not, guys are familiar in the spots where they're at and probably got in games potentially, except for Ruse. But I don't know. What do you think the starting 5 would be?
I only wonder about Levin because we wondered, would they break a second position would they change?
Well, we said that, and I was concerned that they wouldn't do that, and then they did.
And then they did. So they took the guard and moved him to center with Brewer.
Mm-hmm. And
so,
put Levin in there, right?
Yes. Or they put that was Radens at that point, who, by the way, Dylan Radens is also on an IR.
Yeah. They say he tore his ACL?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
In the 3 series that he played.
That was unfortunate. That was unlucky because he got rolled up from behind. He didn't.
Yep. And I saw him hopping after that particular play and thought, oh, no. And then you see him limp off the field, and that was it for him. And with Radens, with this happening as late as it did in the mid-December, I mean, how could he even be moderately available to start camp next year? So this has affected Radens even into next year. So I wonder if they will do that today, knowing the other guard might change. So do you maybe put Levin in the middle? Do you keep Brewer where he is to try to help Daly on the left side because he continues to struggle?
Happen. Yeah.
So I don't know. And then Jordan Ruse, who Titans fans don't know a whole bunch about, he's another guy who's
from training camp
going to be in the mix, and Daniel Munyer is back, and there are just other guys. We don't even have. There's, I don't know, roughly 48 minutes of the show, Blaine. We don't even have time to read the names of all the guys who've cycled through on the offensive line this week, but will be a complete crapshoot. And
this is how the team is built with their offensive line and their defensive line, and they have injury issues all over the place. We don't even know who's starting the names of these people. That's where we're at. That's why I'm concerned about playing the Texans.
There we go.
Because we're talking about in the trenches, and that's how they win football games with the Titans, and running the football and getting after the quarterback with your front four. So if you start having injuries, you're going to have to start making adjustments to your scheme and system to fit those players in a week's time. That's almost impossible. So you're going to run your system, and then how effective will you be, even though you have the king back there who usually just destroys the Texans? And right now, I'm not confident that he can get to going. The Texans have played better. Now, they're still giving up, 5.2 yards a pop on in running the football, and they play, teams that are passing, even though they were in the games with elite teams and the Cowboys and the Chiefs. But still, they are competing at a high level, and they have not given up, and they are fighting and clawing here with a two-headed monster, by the way, at quarterback. Let's not forget that. We haven't mentioned that. With Mills as well as Driscoll. So, and it's kind of gotten defenses a little off balance on what they're doing with these guys. So that's another issue and a problem, no different than Malik Willis may be part of the run game as well for us. And they bring in Driscoll. And actually, Mills has played better with this kind of rotation. He's kind of stepped up to where he was at the end of this last season. So I'm just curious. There's a lot of caveats here that we aren't sure of because we haven't seen these guys out here and in live action. So until we see it, they're going to start off with their game plan as we're going to go with our identity. But if that doesn't work, now it's going to hold all. It's going to the weight of everything is going to go on Malik Willis in his third start as a Tennessee Titan and in his second start versus the Texans. And I'm interested to see if they let him play ball. And they may be forced to, and he may make mistakes, and he may look really well. So that's where we're at. I think Malik Willis is the key to this game because I don't know what we're going to get out of the offensive line, pass protecting as well as run blocking. I'm hoping they can. Henry can only do so much. Now, you still need blocking. I mean, if he's a freaking nature 6'4" guy, he's still got to get through the initial hole.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. So I'm hoping that the Texans aren't at full strength on the defensive line.
How would you, knowing what's going on in front of him, would you try to move the pocket some? Would you try to get Malik just outside the pocket some to make throws? And I know you run what you run and you do what you do. Would you consciously in those first scripted plays?
But we thought they were going to do that last time they played the Texans. They didn't do it.
He stood in the pocket.
Yeah, they didn't do it.
Yes.
They didn't run any boots, play. No, they didn't do any of that. Get him outside the pocket. Nope, they didn't do it. So I'm assuming they won't do it until they are forced to do it. And that means, that they're not having success running the football. Yeah, but I firmly believe he should be in the run game and be part of the run game and a threat as a runner, not when he drops back to pass, actually called run plays. Yeah, so I think that's how you really, get the defense off schedule, and then you start putting in some of these plays where you're outside the pocket. I'm with you, Mickey. I think they're going to have to run something like that. They have to get him outside the pocket, get him comfortable, settle him down, and see how he looks and see in running this offense the way they want it to be run.
This is something you brought up before, talking about, I think you even brought it up with Willis, and we've talked about with other young players. Or maybe you just sit down with him and say, tell me the things you're most comfortable running. Show me this, where you sit down with him and maybe just try to come up with the most comfortable things. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but show me some plays that you like best. Show me the things you're most comfortable with.
Well, with this offense.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That dialogue is going on for sure in the quarterbacks meeting room when they're doing with all this, the quarterbacks, with Dobbs as well. And Dobbs is somewhat similar in style in that he can run the ball as well as throw. So they have a backup. They don't have to change anything about the offense if something happens. I think they're going to ask both of those guys, Dobbs a little bit less because he's still learning the offense. But he's a quick learner. We all know how sharp he is mentally. So, I think you see that on film at practice, what plays he's really comfortable with. But then sometimes you have to make adjustments in the game, and I think that's where Downing has issues. He goes into the game with one thing, and then he's not adjusting to actually what they're doing, and the player is not having success. And so now he starts, I call it grab bagging as far as plays,
right?
Because he's searching for the answers and it's not giving it to him because the player is not playing up to the standard in this style offense, whether it's the offensive line, the quarterback play, or the running game is not working. See, so that's what happens. So it's a lot harder. Everybody acts like calling plays is real easy. It's really hard. I think calling defensive plays are easier than offense. Yeah. That's why it's easier to implement players in the defense because it's an attack style. You are going forward. Well, you don't know what the defense is giving you. You may have to adjust. Let's just say a wide receiver has to adjust why they're running the route, actually what they're actually running. That's why when they say, he's not be able to read the defense. It's not that he didn't know initially. It's when they moved to something else and he had to change his route in midstream.
Right.
And he's not a quick thinker like that. This is going to be an interesting. I'm hoping they start off and Malik just plays to the level that I think the next step that he can take to be just a solid quarterback and doesn't hurt the offense and put the defense in a bind where then there's short fields and then they're not holding the field goals, they're getting touchdowns because we don't have our stud players out there, whether it's rushing a passer. May get Autry back, but we don't have our corners. So it's still a struggle. And we may not even have Hooker. So that's some player we haven't talked about. But I think we're gonna get Cunningham back and Autry, and I don't even know who this Xavier Newman is. He's an offensive lineman that they put on the active roster. So potentially maybe for Clark, I don't know if he's going to be active on today or not. So it's a catch-22 here with Hooker, Avery even, and even Burks. We don't know. We were assuming that he'll be back because he practiced. So we don't know if he'll have some setbacks when he wakes up this morning.
You mentioned Josh Dobbs. It's interesting, Blaine. This is a guy that we've talked about over the years at times where he's become available and thought, gosh, if you're the Titans, maybe you kick the tires on this guy. Well, they finally did. Mm-hmm. Now, he hasn't been here long, but you mentioned he's a dual threat guy. He can run, he can throw. I spent time with the Browns this year because of their quarterback situation. Was cut loose when Watson came back. Then he was on Detroit's practice squad, but the Titans scoop him off there. The interesting thing about Dobbs is, obviously, he would just be playing out the rest of this year. He's got a chance to maybe earn a spot on this roster next year with how he practices and how he acclimates to things. I mean, depending on what happens with Tannehill, there could be a backup quarterback or a quarterback opening on this team. So, interesting opportunity for Dobbs. I don't know if we'll see him today. Several people have asked me, do you think they'll do something with him? Well, he just got here. But he is in an interesting position here.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to even look forward to next year and see if that's a possibility. I think that's way down the road. And even if he gets an opportunity, so that we can't even judge anything unless he's out there playing. At this point in time, you can figure out that he's a quick study and that he can pick up an offense pretty fast. But you want to see him in live action in an NFL game. And obviously, he's probably a backup guy in this league at this point in time. But when you have a young quarterback and if he sputters or, doesn't perform well, he may get an opportunity. And then I think that's when you get to judge him in live action. But to say that he'll possibly, open up some things. If he was coming in starting and things like that, I think then, that can play into it. But right now, I think he's kind of going to be a journeyman in this league until he proves that he can carry an offense. But this style offense, I think he can produce. Is probably a really good fit for him, you would say. And I'm sure he feels comfortable being back in Tennessee. He probably feels something like home to him. So I'm intrigued to see him play, but I don't know if we'll get the opportunity to actually see him.
One of the guys that Willis should be able to lean on, or Dobbs or whomever might play quarterback, Chig Okonkwo. He continues to get more and more opportunities in the offense. The Titans send us like all these stats each week. Chig actually leads all drafted tight ends in receiving yards. Mm-hmm. And he's doing it at 4 or 5 targets a game at the most. You know, on a cold day, if you're playing things closer to the vest, it'd be interesting if they wouldn't. You know, if Chig might get a couple more targets, because he's shown that when he catches the ball, he can be explosive with it and do some great things after the catch.
Well, I guess also, I mean, to add to that, besides the receiving yards, he's the number one for the 2022 draft, he's, as a rookie, he's also the leader in Titans history as a rookie at tight end.
Wow.
Yeah, so Chig Okonkwo is the real deal. And as I've been saying, and they've been doing it, getting the ball more because he's one of their more explosive players. So I got to tip the cap to those staff members on the offense and Vrabel to get him the ball, because at this point in time, him and Burks, hopefully he'll be out there. Now we have some weapons with Malik Willis as well as the King. So I think now we got some things that can open it up for NWI, Robert Woods, and make things a little easier, and even Hooper. So we shall see.
And I mean, we've seen this with Willis. He has a cannon for an arm. If you schemed up a couple of deep things today, there's no doubt that he cannot get the ball wherever he wants it to go and get it there in a hurry.
Yeah. And, you know, that's one thing he was talking about. It's like now he won't have to be pressed to, last minute to try to force something and give it all he got. Instead of, he already knows where he's going with the football. So now it's just like college. He's just throwing the ball to a spot. So I want to see him do that and do it on a consistent basis with confidence. And, man, that will mean tons, not only for his development, but it will really continue to see the maturation process of transforming into a pro quarterback. And with all his natural gifts and talents, even the launch angles and all those different things that he can do, it will then come natural within the scheme of the offense. And whether he's scrambling, running, or buying time in the offense, that's where you want to see him start doing things like that and then hitting things on the money with the timing and everything. If he starts doing this on a regular basis in this game or these next 2 or 3 games, I'll be fascinated to see where he goes next year.
The Titans wide receivers, you and I have a show, Blaine and Mickey. We talked about this on Monday of this previous week. The Titans wide receivers in the previous game caught 6 total passes for 32 total yards on 11 total targets in the previous game. They have to do a better job of making the most of whatever opportunities they have this week. And I think I had written down after that, would you set the over-under at 11 passes this week as our lights go out again here at the radio station?
So are we out?
No, we're still on the air. We're just sitting in the dark. And the lights are flickering now, so we'll see how this goes. We're on the air.
So
I just can't see you.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I can see you because, remember, you're a ghost.
That is true. 11 passes.
You actually look really good there. I'm looking at the screen.
Man.
I'm the one look like I'm in the back shadows. I look like I'm far away from the camera. So, yeah, this is kind of fun. But, yeah, this is going to be an interesting game in that the Titans are only favored by 3, which means the game is even because they're the home team. So that shows you what they think of the Titans as well as the Texans, who have been fighting to the end in every game here, which is fascinating, being 1-12. You just look at the records, you go, okay, the Titans are going to win this game. When you're playing in division, you know each other. The rivalry let's start from just moving from the Houston Oilers to Tennessee, and then the rivalry there with the Texans in division, meaning a lot, and what's at stake. And trying to end now we have 4 games, 4-game losing streak. So there's a lot at stake just for pride in this game. And then the Texans are funny that they're playing hard, and you know they're playing for the first pick. So whoever that may be, I'm assuming it's going to be Young, but I could be wrong. Bryce Young. So yeah, this is an intriguing matchup because of all the injuries on the Titan side as well as the losing streak too. So I'm hoping, man, we get off to a really good start.
As a veteran player, if you're one of the healthy guys and you're looking around the locker room thinking, I don't even know who that guy is. This dude just got here last week. I don't know his last name. How do you I'm going to control what I can control. I'm not going to try to do too much, because I would think the tendency for some guys to be like, I got to go out and make 10 plays today, make up for all these jokers.
Well, I don't think it's about making plays. I think that, going through that, and I've gone through that, the hardest part is, You think they know until we get into the game. And then now you're telling everybody else what to do in game as far as their responsibilities. And then now you're not on top of what you need to do. Yeah. It's not about I'm going to go make plays and pressing to make the plays. It's about making sure everybody's in the possibilities of in the right spot to make plays. And if you're not, they're nervous or they're just not comfortable with the scheme and the system, and you're trying to make sure you communicate, next thing you know, you're communicating with them and they're snapping the ball. So I think those are the things that become part of, and they'll just say communication. But at the end of the day, you just got to line up a play ball. And, it's nothing like feeling like you're the Lone Ranger out there trying to help everybody out and make sure they understand their responsibility. So you try and practice, but sometimes you get in there, especially if with the young players that haven't played all season and things moving a lot faster and adjustments that maybe I didn't go over, but them if you're being a veteran out there, are the things that can, catch you off guard and kind of get you out of your rhythm and flow as a veteran player.
All right, here's what we'll do. We should have the inactives here within the next 5 minutes or so, so we'll let you know. And once we know who the inactives are, that should tell us, is Traylon Burks active as he comes out of the concussion protocol, hopefully. Zach Cunningham is a guy who's set to play. So there's a lot of remaining what-ifs. We should be able to go through all of that with you when we come back. There's no what-ifs for this, though. Today's broadcast brought to you in part by SA Recycling. SA Recycling reminds you to be a good fan this game day. Look for recycle bins in and around Nissan Stadium. Make sure to recycle all those cans as you try to keep yourself warm on this Christmas Eve tailgate. And as always, thanks to Lee Company for putting this show on the air. We appreciate them each and every day, not just at Christmas. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Late Company countdown to kickoff on 104.5 The Zone. Blaine Bishop, Mickey Ryan here. Action Jackson. Buck is over at the stadium right now getting the lay of the land. Jim Wyatt tweeting out videos right now of Titans players walking around in shorts and flip-flops on the frozen field. Yeah, Jordan Ruse, an offensive lineman who could very well play a prominent role for the Tennessee Titans today. We are awaiting the inactives. Typically, they are out an hour and a half before kickoff, but they have not been released yet to the best of any of my usual suspects. So we do not have the inactives yet. We will continue to wait for that as we are an hour and a half before the scheduled kickoff between the Tennessee Titans and the Houston Texans. The second game against these two franchises this year. It's interesting, Blaine. The Titans lost to Houston once last year. They only lost 5 games, and one was to Houston. And they barely beat them by 3 points the second time they played them. And I know you're nervous.
Well, they got a gimme touchdown there at the end.
Yep.
It was 17-3 pretty much the whole game. But, yeah, I get what you're saying.
So it was a little too close for comfort. And in the second game, that was just an interesting afternoon over there to watch the Titans, not put the Texans away. And knowing that there will be a patchwork offensive line no matter what, it will be the backup quarterback today. You don't have a lot of cornerbacks, he said. Not quarter, but cornerbacks, including Fulton, who will be out today. You may get Avery back. We're still waiting on the answers to this. This spells, as you said earlier, a little bit of nerves for you. And again, the Texans never stopped playing hard.
Which is amazing. And, the first thing you think of is, okay, you look at their record, 1-12-1, and you think, okay, the head coach is in trouble. Regardless of what's happened in the past, and it's his first year or what have you, and he was interim and all those things, you go, okay. But when you watch them play, going against elite NFC and AFC competition, the Cowboys as well as the Chiefs, took the Chiefs into overtime here. The last 2 weeks, they're still playing tough and gritty and fighting for this coach. So, which is astonishing to me, which then makes it a little tougher than you think based off of what happened the last time you played them, where Malik Willis was limited in his experience, and we could rely on Derrick Henry, and the offensive line to a certain extent at that time was healthy enough and could run, and with even Twice Daily, who's a decent run blocker. And now we have all these injuries on the offensive line. Now the quarterback is going to open up a little bit and throw a little bit more, I'm sure. I think he's a different player today than he was that first game. And does that help them or hurt them? And we may get Burks back, and can he get the ball to Henry in open space? And will the offensive line be able to run to help him, or will he be part of the run game? So there's a lot of variables here and unknowns we don't know until we actually get out here and play the game. And I think he's going to play better than he fared, or they trust him a little bit more that he can throw the ball more than, I think he was 6 for 10 for 55 yards and INT, something like that the last game. So I think they trust him a lot more now. So I think they're going to run their offense and maybe cater it a little bit more to his running skill set in having some run plays in there as well. And maybe your suggestion is getting outside the pocket as well, even though they didn't do that the last time, which I thought they would, just like you said. So we'll see if they kind of change a little bit and tweak it in favor more to his skill set and help him out within staying in their offense. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm a little more concerned about just the offensive line and the chemistry. Much harder on offensive line than defensive line to plug and play. Plug and play means you got a backup or, different moving parts on the offensive line, 2 new starters, and you're not working as one. Where defense, everybody's really as one anyway, and you just get after quarterback and do your responsibility playing your gaps. So that's why it's always harder for offensive linemen, and it's tough because it's all about chemistry and working as one unit, making sure you're understanding who's the mic and then how that changes protections. And will Malik Willis be part of that? And that's why I think Brewer moves to center. You think otherwise because of, understanding the plays. But maybe the team likes Levin at center more so than at guard. That'll be interesting, something to watch. And now we saw Clark is 6, so where does that put there's Xavier Newman. Yes, Xavier Newman, a backup. He was on the 53-man roster. Will he dress now? And then the other pieces behind with Ruse at the right guard for Nate Davis. because Dylan Radins is out for the season with an ACL. So there's a lot of pieces in. No one talks about the offensive line except this season because of all the injuries in their play in the passing game. But the offensive line, the trenches really run your team. The skill guys get all the glory. But if you don't have your guys in the trenches on the offensive defensive line, you will not have success in the National Football League. That's been proven time in and time out every time in the National Football League.
This show brought to you by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Interesting note, we still do not have inactives. Typically, they were dropped about 8 minutes
ago. They
before
should
this time. Yes, they should have been dropped by 10:30 for a noon
the
kickoff.
mayor is maybe pushing some buttons. I'm just theorizing there. You just never know. And what I'm talking about is he was hoping that the Titans
tweeted earlier, tagged the Titans, asked that they consider moving back their kickoff today.
Let's just say delaying the kickoff. Yes. Delay could be 5 minutes. It could be 15. It could be just for the energy and surge and everything else to make sure everything is functioning the way it's supposed to. So right now we have no idea and waiting to hear where we're going with not getting the inactives. So that's curious. You just got him? No.
No.
I saw your face. I thought, we got him.
Brett Batchelor, fellow zone employee here, sent this to me, a youngster from Aaron Wilson, long-time
Texans,
Houston Texans reporter.
What did he say?
Who is probably in town today. This is via Aaron Wilson. Titans and Texans game expected to be postponed due to power issues in the area. Likely just a 1 hour delay of kickoff, he said.
What?
This is, again, Aaron Wilson reporting.
Aaron Wilson, and he's in the know. He's the guy that comes on our show, too, by the way, periodically throughout the season. Kind of more so even just the Texans, an NFL guy with all the transactions throughout the season. And yes, and I'm seeing it right here. Texans and Titans game expected to be postponed due to power issues in the area. Likely just 1 hour delay of kickoff, as Mickey just stated. So, yeah. And that, it's got a lot of viewers there on that, almost 8,000.
Again, if you're just joining us, we started the show. Mayor John Cooper, Nashville's mayor, had tweeted based on the rolling power outages, and I will find the exact tweet. Let's see. This is Mayor John Cooper. This was a little over an hour ago. I've been informed that TVA's unilateral rolling blackouts will continue. All non-essential businesses should reduce power usage. I've asked the Titans to postpone their 12 o'clock noon game in solidarity with our neighbors. Then he said TVA needs to invest in infrastructure to withstand extreme temperatures. Jackson, what have we got? Adam Schefter now? Multiple people confirming here. NFL is pushing back the Titans-Texans kickoff by 1 hour to, it says 2:02 Eastern time, 1 o'clock our time, due to power outages, he says, in the Tennessee area. So please note, if you are coming to the game and you're planning on being there for the noon kickoff, it will now be a 1 o'clock kickoff. Multiple people reporting this now.
Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. Woo, man, that's kind of a little bit of a shocker there.
It is. I wonder if this speaks to maybe the severity of the power grid or maybe some things that are happening in and around the stadium. And I asked that, Blaine, because
every area they're doing it. So
yeah, I remember the Super Bowl in New Orleans when they just lost power during the game. Remember the Ravens and the 49ers lost power during a Super Bowl game. It wasn't an ice storm or anything like that.
But yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. What's the comparison besides that the power went out?
Just that they started a game and lost power. I guess the NFL's thing is like, until we know everything is going to work right, let's don't start this thing.
Well, I mean, the power has been on the whole entire time, so I don't know why would you think that the power won't work right.
Maybe that's a fear. I don't know. I'm trying to think of why.
No, that's not the reason why. I think they just feel like they need to maybe turn off the lights for a little bit, and maybe it would help out the surge for everything else. I don't know. Because a lot of people were posting pictures that the lights were on all night.
Yep.
And I don't know if they did the surge then or not. And so to me, if you're concerned that the power will go out, I think you wait till the power goes off. Then you delay the game so you start it on time if the power is actually working. Maybe the mayor's push to get it delayed for I'm sure his reasons for the area, worked. So hey, that's why he's the mayor. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day. So, he's getting this thing delayed. And I don't know how it works with radio, TV, or more so TV, the contracts, and then how the NFL, how it all filters down to the powers that be outside of the mayor and the Tennessee Titans. I'm sure once he contacted the Titans, then the Titans had to talk to the league and, all the TV stations, because everything is run by money and the TV. So it's not a nationally televised game. I think it's just a local game, right? How does that work?
Technically now, because they're all on satellite, they're all technically nationally televised.
Okay.
The network just shows okay, we're only going to – they have the same feed for every game. But for the Titans game, they might say, okay, we're only going to show this in Tennessee, Kentucky, Houston, and Arkansas and Mississippi. They choose which markets they basically funnel it to. And then they'll pick I'll just say the Steelers, although they're not playing right now. But they'd say the Steelers game goes to all the national markets. Anybody, like where you grew up in Indy and didn't have a local team, and I grew up in Arkansas with no local team, everybody else just gets whatever game they pick.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but they're all available to be on wherever they want to send them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically like water. They dam it up in some areas and they let it go to others.
Well, let's don't mix water and power.
Let's not do that. We do have the inactives. You ready for this?
Oh, we got them. Oh, my.
We got them. Ryan Tannehill, no surprise. John Reed, Christian Fulton, Josh Thompson, Amani Hooker. You wondered earlier out loud, is he going to be available? He's not available. Dylan Cole, who has, punched above his weight at linebacker this year, who's more of a special teams type guy.
Special team alternate, by the way.
Yeah, for the Pro Bowl.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Absolutely. What a good season for him. And Mario Edwards, the defensive lineman. He is inactive today.
He's inactive, right?
He is inactive.
So who's reporting these inactives?
Jimmy Wyatt.
Oh, Jimbo. Jimbo, quick on the trigger, man. He's got the fast fingers.
So he is inactive. So let's cycle through what that does mean.
Okay.
That means Traylon Burks will be back and out of concussion protocol.
Yeah.
That means Zach Cunningham would come off of IR officially out of the practice window. So he could help make up certainly for, what you don't have with Dylan Cole and don't have with David Long Jr. Mm-hmm. So Cunningham and Monty Rice, you get a look at those guys. Danico Autry, not inactive. Big Jeff gets his partner back today, his partner in crime.
Yeah, Autry. Woo.
Trey Avery, the DB, who, was on the roster in the beginning and then wasn't around, and then he's back around, and then he had some time to get seasoned, and he's playing well.
Starting.
Getting his hand on some passes. So a guy who we might not have thought of much earlier in the season, that's a good guy to get back today.
Yeah. No question about it. He's proven now with consistency that he can compete at this level, and especially in a backup role, but in a potential start, for a game or two. So he's held up well. Actually, I think he led the league for those 3 games that he played a significant part in PBUs. Not to say that he can have a bad day or good day, but he has matured quickly after thrown out there to the Wolves in the Buffalo game, where he had deer in the headlights and wasn't even doing, his responsibilities. I think he was more concerned of who was lining up in front of him instead of just playing what the defense calls for him and play the technique and then try to make plays from there. I think sometimes guys get out there and they get pressed. And you got to go through that maturation process as a young player, and he did. I liked him in preseason, and he's actually played better than I expected, actually. I thought he was a guy that was going to be maybe could make the roster, and he did, maybe, or put on the practice squad. And then now that he's got out there, it was a little unfair early in the season to go out there against Diggs. I mean, that was, oh my gosh.
That was unfair.
Yeah, that was tough sledding there. And so he improved and continued to grind. The coaches show support and start believing in him, and even more so. And they gave him an opportunity, and he impressed and played well and solid until the injury. So now he's back, so we'll see if he can pick right back up where he lost. Not to say he can't get beat. I mean, he got beat by A.J. Brown too, but he was right there. He just didn't make the play like other DBs haven't either. So he's no different than these guys that are starting the league and making big bucks. So I'm excited to see him back because they need him. So that is huge, to be honest. at this point in time. So we have McQuarrie, we have Avery, and who's the other corner? That will play in a 3-wide set. I'm trying to think off the cuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody.
Terrence Mitchell went on IR this week.
Mitchell and Fulton are out.
Yep.
We'll have to look him up for. You can tell me the number then. I'll tell you the name.
The guy that joined the team the week Mitchell joined the team. Andrew Adams.
Oh, Andrew Adams is a safety.
I'm just trying to think of like who's even DBs because we found out that Amani Hooker is not available.
Right. That's it. So I'm thinking, is Lonnie, my man Lonnie Johnson, back or no?
He should still be back. Josh Kalu again, who's a safety. Mitchell was playing because they were so beat up.
Yeah, that's why I'm concerned where we're going here at the cornerback. So I'm sure we'll look it up and it's like, oh yeah, because they've had so many on the roster. It's kind of moving pieces and puzzles to who's out there and who's not, and try to figure out some of these guys' names, like Xavier Newman. He's an O-lineman, not a DB. Was
around early and then not around and is back around. I think he was with them in camp a little bit as an undrafted guy. Let's see. Greg Maben is the guy we're not thinking of.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yep.
The longtime Jag Titan.
Yeah. So
always a security blanket. Yeah.
He just keeps appearing here like nobody's business. He comes and goes.
He have even a different number now.
Hey, I wonder how many numbers he's even had here.
Man, I don't know.
We are receiving word that Titans Radio will handle the next 2 hours of pregame. So we'll end at our regular time. Again, this Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. So we'll finish up in about 5 minutes or so. We'll hand things off to Rhett and Coach Mack and Mike Keith and cast of thousands. I'm sure they'll have all the latest developments on what's going on with the Titans, Amy. They'll have an update on everything that's going on with the power and why the game was postponed. They'll have you down with all the details on that. You brought this up a couple times. You're our defensive captain. The Texans are doing something really unique, as you pointed out. They play two quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And sometimes together. Driscoll's a runner, but he can also throw. I think he made the best throw in their game last week. Mm-hmm. Davis Mills seems to have somehow regained his confidence. We had Sean Salisbury on before the season, who is a radio guy in Houston, and they really thought Davis Mills might make the next step. And it looked like he wouldn't, but he's been playing better lately. So they have two kind of capable guys who have different skill sets.
Well, I would say they're a little more proven and seasoned than our starting quarterback.
Oh, my gosh, absolutely.
And so they got a two-headed monster, which means the defense has to game plan for both of them. And they've been playing well when they've spot played, which is kind of intriguing and interesting to see how that's played out. And they've been in games. So I'm stunned. And they're going to come in here with a little chip because why? Always Derrick Henry just abuses them.
Yeah.
So, you should go back and watch that game. And half the guys are probably throwing their coffee at the projector because they are perturbed that he just runs right through them. And as an athlete, you're competitive without even trying. So they're going to come out here pissed off with greatness. So we shall see how it all works out. So Malik, let's get ready for the Malik Willis show. I'm ready. Hope he is.
All right, I have to ask you this. Blaine's a 10-year NFL vet. You played here. You played in one of the coldest games in the history. Actually, you played in a couple of the 10 coldest games before today. Then you went to Philadelphia. My gosh.
And those games were colder.
How in the world do you prepare yourself? Because people see a football uniform and they go, well, there's not a whole lot of fabric with the football uniform. How in the world do you even remotely keep yourself even kind of warm on a game like today?
Oh no, I'm doing all the things that all the little tricks of the trade. That means greasing up with the Vaseline, hot ice, cold ice, with tights, as well as anything else I can get on. So I'm doing all that. Yeah.
Were you putting on those back plasters, like the heating strips and everything, or do they even matter on a day like today?
I would do that first, and then I would put on the Vaseline around that because I don't want you can't do both in that area of your hamstrings.
Oh
so
yeah.
All I want, my whole thing was job is to stay warm, and when I get in the game, the adrenaline rush and everything else to keep me warm. So then the feat of keeping your hamstrings, feet, and fingers warm is the job of the heaters on the sidelines to me. Mm-hmm. So put your hands in the little cubby thing, get your feet warm, and once you get your feet warm, and then I got the back plasters on my hamstrings, everything else will come into play, keeping it warm and tight in there, and you feel like it's just a regular game.
You tell yourself you're at the beach.
Not during this time. And guess what I do though? I say I want to hit that guy so hard it makes me warm.
Oh,
That is what the hitman do. And I'm like, oh man, that felt so good. If not, it will hurt like crap. And all your old nagging injuries will come to roost in this cold weather. No different than right now, my crooked finger is stiff as you know what right now. And I'm like, oh my God, it's killing me.
who you watching today? What players? What matchups? I guess we've got about a minute or a little under that left here.
Well, there's so much here, but I'm going to just stay here with naturally the offensive line, but secondary. But at the end of the day, guess who can cure all? The quarterback. The quarterback is a cure-all to everything. And as I've been mentioning, so I'm interested to see the development. Is this the first step of Malik Willis becoming a starting quarterback in the National Football League? Will he show these next 3 games that what he can be potentially down the road going into next season?
I will be keeping my eye on whomever plays offensive line today and how well can they
not sexy, but yes, that is
keep
true.
Malik upright and clean the way up for Derrick Henry. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. Game postponed an hour, starting at 1 instead of noon. Work that into your travel plans. The Titans radio crew got you covered for the next 2 hours, though. Time for us to get out of here. Merry Christmas, as always, and
Tighten up!